Hello, welcome to the dev stream. We are here to talk about things that are not dev today. That's why I have the wonderful Will Schick here.
I was totally ready to talk about dev stuff.
I mean, we'll probably talk about
I'm
a little
Will
bit of dev stuff.
Hungerford. Dev numbers. Models, playtest.
That's exactly what happens in the office.
I know.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
Stand around and do that. It's great. But yeah, I'm joined. I'm Will Pagani, the lead CID developer. I'm joined here
I like how you almost said
by
Will
Schick.
Hungerford. Like,
I'm Will
confused.
Hungerford, the organized play developer. That's
we are all Will Hungerford.
Oh, Doug's name doesn't say Will anymore.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be William Seacat, but
That's unfortunate. But yeah, so I'm joined here by Will Schick, the executive business leader man.
Yeah,
guy.
leader man. I like it. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Schicktator. The Schicktator, absolutely.
I like
and Doug Will Seacat, the writing manager?
no, I am the senior writer and continuity.
He's the continuity master.
Yeah.
He takes it all and he just keeps it all together.
He does.
And
The
makes sure
lore
it works out.
master.
But yeah, I was kind of kidnapped this morning against my will to join this panel. I have not prepared. I am here under protest, and
What?
I could be considered a hostile witness.
There's
A hostile
witness?
yeah.
Oh, we're going to do this, Doug.
That sounds good.
Why are you here?
But no, we'll try to answer some questions that you guys have about anything and everything, and we'll dodge those that I can't remember.
Oh. Just make it up.
Or
They
just
won't
we'll
know.
just make up some.
And then rewrite it later.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
are the master of continuity. You can just change it at will.
We'll just make up some
Like,
nonsense.
this is the thing. So yeah.
Sure.
So for those of you who are confused, we have hijacked the dev chat.
Yes.
And we are not doing dev chat mostly.
I mean, we can do a little bit
We'll
of
do a
that.
little bit of dev chat. We're just going to talk about the world in general and answer questions and basically do whatever.
I feel like we will go wherever
'Cause
the
I'm
road
here.
takes us.
Oh, we're going to follow the winding road. That winding dirt road.
Doug, how many winding dirt roads would you say there are?
Oh, good opening question.
Uncountable number.
All right, I can't. We're going to need a solid number from you. Hostile
Well,
witness.
the main thing is the windier they are, the more dangerous. So
okay.
you want as much as possible to be on a straight road
Straight road.
with a lot of traffic.
Okay. Oh, that
The
makes
windier
makes
road out in
sense.
the middle of the woods, then you get jumped by a Thorn. They
Or like
take your
the-
heart.
The Trollkin Highwayman.
Yeah.
They can take a
what
different
is the
kind of
Thorn
heart.
taking from you that he's jumping? He's like, give me those boots.
They just grab your heart straight out.
I see.
They're like, good
Heart
day,
seal.
sir. Thank you for the heart.
Yeah.
And then they wander away.
I mean, we could talk about Thorn a little bit.
What do you want to talk about, Thorn?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, I know you guys revealed that well, I guess you confirmed that the Thorn are a
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, they've been a thing for a long time, but
But
they are
we
coming
confirmed
in
they're-
CID.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
we
they're
got more
going to be a
stuff coming out.
CID. And you guys are kind of in the middle of that right now, right?
We're still testing. We're still
Yes,
doing
yeah.
playtest on them and
We're
figuring
doing-
out where they're fitting.
We're doing our sort of final pass on the new models,
Right.
and then a lot of the changes that we're working on internally are kind of getting their last little polish and look at.
Sure.
So that's where
We
we're at.
showed off the Thorn Ravagers yesterday and their Chieftain and how they've been kind of tweaked, lower point costs, some
Yes.
shuffling of abilities.
Right.
Yeah, so that actually brings up something that I kind of want to talk about that is dev related.
Sure.
I'm gonna.
I'll jump
My
in.
God.
Hijack it back.
My God,
Fighting for
steal
the
it
wheel
back.
here. I like it. I'm just mediating between the tug of war.
Yeah.
Just a fair note, stream level up. Logo appearing behind your guys'
Oh,
heads.
yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
look at that.
Oh,
no, it's that way.
snap.
Special effects.
I don't know. It's your left shoulder.
It doesn't
which
matter.
is-
I like
I
the
don't
fact
know.
that I'm not pointing to it right now. Like, I'm just like, it's there.
Yeah. So
You were totally pointing in the wrong direction.
It's because it's reversed. It's so weird.
we're really good at this. This is fantastic. So
What
when
were
we
you
do
gonna say?
go into things like Thorn,
Yeah.
that are some of the not most popular models that we do look at a lot of the abilities, and we kind of rework them as a whole. We don't necessarily just look at individual pieces and do stuff like that. So the Thorn are going to receive a lot more changes than what happened specifically in Thorn Ravagers. So things like the White Mane, things like the Shaman, that kind of stuff, will have a lot of their support abilities kind of jostled around if we don't feel like they're hitting the goals that we really want them to hit. And one of the reasons for that is it lets us sort of rebalance stuff. So we saw a little bit of that in the Protector one, right? Like we have Desperate Pace on Gravis. We have, I'm forgetting what it's called, the thing that lets you move through each other.
Coordinated maneuvers, battlefield coordination, something with
It
coordination.
used to be called Coordinated Maneuvers, but it's not that anymore. I'm totally blanking.
Battle line
Anyways,
movement.
it's on the Bastion Seneschal, which used to be on Chaos 2. So we take those abilities and we kind of move them around so that we can find the most enticing places for those abilities.
Sure.
So as we get into the Thorn CID and the Retribution stuff that's coming out, where we are reworking a couple of those little things, sort of like what we saw with the Battle Mages, right, where they picked up set
Tactician.
defense.
Tactician.
Tactician. There we go.
Boom. Thank you.
The audience helps.
Stream.
Thanks, chat. You're the best. Yeah, so as we take those abilities and we shuffle them around, we can create more interesting ideas, more things like that. And as I was saying, with things like the battle mages, they picked up set defense, but lost not polarity shield. I always say that. Force barrier. Those kind of changes let us sort of mush things around a little bit and create more interesting options for players.
Sure.
So things might move around a little bit, and that's something that you can expect coming in for both Retribution and for Thorn.
So
Right.
question time.
Sure.
How have the Thorn reacted to Chromac getting Wrathrock?
I
Have there
think-
been lots of swell parties?
I think they're really happy with that situation. You know, like it's Chromac was already admired. He's a great chieftain. Had gathered a bunch of the tribes together. Was already taking on the mantle of sort of champion of the worm, and then Wrathrock just seals it. Where you know, he's got like a little piece of the Devourer in his axe. Apparently, he's decided not to throw it.
No, I don't think he's.
He doesn't.
enough
Well,
to do
because
that, like-
then you might.
It took him so long to get it. Are
Yeah,
you gonna
yeah.
throw the
You want
thing
to
and
hang
pull
on
it
to
back?
it. But yeah, the Thorn actually, Chromac was one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about because I think he's sort of an interesting case of where our depiction of the Thorn sort of changed over time, sort of evolved as we got into them a little bit more. You know, at the very beginning when the Thorn were introduced, which was way back in the original role-playing game, we just kind of imagined them as these transforming guys that would Hulk out, go murder things.
And then go back to their
And
9
then
to 5.
go back to hunting or whatever, carving wood, whatever your hobby happens to be.
Carving wood?
Well, you know,
Fishing, perhaps?
Fishing, sure. And
for humans.
but anyway,
Just a normal family life, and
yeah.
then they, smooch the wife and the kids goodbye, and they're like, "All right, I've got to go murdering."
yeah, and you got your meat rack to dry your meats, and then you go get some new meat, put it up on the meat rack. You know, it's a simple lifestyle.
Have a couple bags of hearts so that
Yeah.
when you get into battle, you just snack on one. and-
Sure. But you know,
Nutrition's
so
important.
we developed the Thorn where we kind of created this very different form with the female Thorn where they're sort of the blood trackers. They take on the worm to become better hunters, to sort of move nimbly in their environment. But we kind of, it wasn't until Chromac that we decided that the Thorn should be able to be a warlock. And we made kind of a big deal out of Chromac being special.
Right.
Like he's unique, he's had the wilding. And but then when we were working on Unleashed, the decision came down, you know what? We should really open up warlocks to more Thorn. And so we kind of had to come to terms with what does that mean? Like we were getting into sort of the mysticism of the Thorn a little bit more, where they have this blood magic. We have the shaman, the Thorn shaman, who was able to kind of like bring down lightning. And so the notion was, okay, maybe Chromac isn't the only one who can do it, but he is supposed to be special.
And I mean, he's not now, right? Because
Yes.
now we're introducing Iona,
Right, we're introducing Iona, and so
who is the second warlock.
Does
Yeah.
that make Kruger mad? Like when they call down lightning, he's like, "But that's my
kind of my
bag.
thing.
That's my jam."
The problem is there's a few other druids that like doing the lightning, including one of the omnipotents. But Kruger is still probably.
This lightning guy.
I think he's killed the most people by flooding.
lightning? Oh, flooding. Flooding specifically.
Storms, flooding, and lightning. Like if you combine them all together, I think he's definitely got everybody else beat.
He had like some tornado powers too. For a
Yeah,
while,
tornado.
Too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You
He's got
wind blast some fools.
the whole storm milieu.
So speaking of the omnipotence, flip question from the one that was asked in chat about
Sure.
how the Thorn think, of Chromac. Like, what do the omnipotents think of Chromac having Wrathrock? Because
I don't
he's
think
not even really on the party
No,
line right now.
No, I think
with
the
Kruger.
whole thing is we've kind of set it up where there's elements of the circle that aren't being controlled. It's almost endemic to the organization that like you're supposed to seek out strength, you're supposed to learn how to make yourself more powerful, but then your subordinates start to get more powerful and then they don't listen to you anymore. It's a difficult hierarchy to deal with, even just with your regular druids. Like you have
Go take this village. No, why? I've got Wrathrock.
Exactly. Like, there was when we first started the story of Hordes, we showed one of the old omnipotents getting killed, by Madrak and Doomshaper. And Kruger thought that was going to be his day. He's like, I'm going to be an omnipotent. And then they just pulled this Lourdes guy out from somewhere.
Well, yeah. And they had him in the back.
Yeah, they had him in the back. So then all of a sudden Kruger doesn't get promoted. So then he's like, I'm not even going to listen to you three. I'm going to become the Storm Lord. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to gather my own army. And then meanwhile, you also have Wormwood, who's doing his own thing, who's like, I think I want to destroy all civilization and bring the worm to Cain. So there's this whole idea that we have in the circle of like they're not as cohesive as certain other factions. You know, they have their own little fringe groups. They have people that are rebelling, and I think that Cromac is first and foremost like a religious fanatic. He's like, I serve the worm. I eat things.
Right.
I'm the ravenous. You know, I eat whatever whatever hearts come my way.
Well, and Kruger's he's tapped into that too, right? Because
Yeah.
he's one of the few druids who actually has the devourer worshiper symbol
Yes.
like, tattooed on his forehead.
And we've implied like he has joined in on like the heart eating ceremony,
which is unique. It's not like most druids are going around doing
No.
it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
They're mostly like, hard pass, I already ate.
yeah, like you guys can have the hearts. We'll take the non-human meat.
Yeah, yeah.
Like boar or deer. There's lots of other meats you can eat other than human.
Oh,
But the
that's good to
Thorn
know.
seem to really like eating people, and Kruger has he's dabbled.
He's inspired.
It's on the menu.
Yeah, it's there for when you feel the right mood.
But yeah, the notion with Cromac is like he became friends with Kruger. He was friends with Morvana, but she kind of like burned him, and so there's
I mean, they always had kind of a
Yeah,
tense
they
relationship,
had a
right?
tense
They weren't
relationship.
friends at first, and then she was like, "Well, I'll kneel," and then
well, no,
decided
he was serving her, like
Yeah.
he was her bodyguard, and she kind of used him, and then
Cromac, not Kruger.
no, I'm talking about Cromac,
sure.
yeah. So
Well, yeah, she used her
Druid Wiles,
druid wiles. Her I was gonna say her youthful good looks
right?
that never seem to run out.
Well, yeah, she's got the Druid mojo where you age really slowly.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, she kind of is deserving of some respect because she did fix
Oh, yeah.
that whole fertility problem.
No, she is super powerful. Like that's actually one of my favorite kind of relationships in our setting is that Cromac, Morvana, Kruger, situation where it's like Cromac and Morvana had this really difficult relationship. Cromac realizes he's being used and kind of like steps away from it, and then Kruger's like puts on bro mode. They become friends. They go up into the mountains. But at the same time, the main thing that
He just traded one abusive relationship for another.
he
You
did,
can just say it.
but
Like,
then he gets the axe.
Cromac just wants to be loved, but he doesn't know how.
I feel like we've got an entire like 80s hair metal album coming out of this, right?
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
I just want
The
to be loved,
concept
but I don't
album.
know how.
Yeah.
And what hearts come my way.
Sure, we could have
Like,
some
this is
ballads,
perfect.
some Cromac ballads.
Perfect. Big hair, a lot of spray.
I mean, he does have a lot of big hair.
He does.
Big, like,
We have some
Big
questions
name.
there.
Yeah, go
people
for it.
people wondering about brain prions with all the cannibalism. I think that is an interesting scientific question. Is like, are the Thorn more subject to certain mental disabilities from cannibalism? And
But they're not really cannibals, right? Because Thorn aren't humans.
well, that's what I was going to say. The thing that's interesting about the Thorn is they used to be humans,
Right.
like way back in the day, thousands of
way,
years
way.
ago. But I think they've changed enough by worshiping the worm, where like you're born as a Thorn. It's not like you have to be like turned into a Thorn. Like, so you can imagine there's like a little 2-year-old Thorn that can like Hulk out.
I don't want to go to bed. That would make child rearing just
It would make,
difficult.
yeah, and like similarly, like the female Thorn just suddenly becoming like super sneaky and able to like just hide anywhere, and then just like sneaking up on their parents
Yeah.
and like hamstringing them or whatever.
Gotcha, mom.
We've kind of talked about in the fiction though that there's kind of like a puberty for Thorn where they
Sure.
become able to really transform.
Well,
like that
yeah, I think
too
it's
as
more
well,
more of
right?
a controlled situation later. But I do like to imagine like Thorn child rearing being horrific, and like really tough on the
I would
parents.
be honest, Doug, having heard you talk about every child rearing in the arguments, they're always horrific.
I think you
you
just
have
like to
winnowing
torture.
pools. You have
Well,
you
the
have hulked out
lives.
murder beasts.
I
that apparently
actually
just
think-
run around and do what they want.
I think life is very cool as a Trollkin child.
Oh, that's
Because-
the one.
Well, because
can, like,
not,
do whatever you want.
Even if something bad happens, you regenerate so fast. It's like like let's say your parents drop you.
Right. You're
That's
probably fine.
not that big of a deal.
There has to be at least one like derp troll who got dropped on his
On his
head
head and
and
didn't-
like
No, but you
didn't
just
quite come
regenerate.
back together the right way.
Well, yeah, he's got a little flat head, but there's the flathead clans.
fine.
It'll be all right.
It's
It'll be
fine.
fine.
But no, I do think the Thorn in particular, like, you talk about feral children. We even have the wilding as this thing that happens with druids where you're young and you kind of feel the wilderness inhabiting you. You start howling at the moon, but the Thorn, that's just like normal life. And so I do think child rearing has to be really tough for them. But the question about prions, I think that Thorn are distinct enough from humans that humans are just like eating any other thing. So no need to worry about prions.
All right. Well, there you go.
So there was an interesting question that scrolled past
Sure.
that I want to talk about from Raven Fletcher.
Okay.
Which is, Gareth was described in the fiction as being a criminal.
Okay.
And then sort of was adopted into the Retribution.
Sure.
To fight and that kind of stuff. And I wanted to know about the criminality in IOS. Is there a lot of
Yeah,
organized crime?
that's
that
actually
kind of
something
stuff?
Getz and I were just talking about that, I think last week. There's this whole interesting element that's been untapped in our fiction having to do with life inside IOS, like inside Sheer, which is this huge capital city. And it's one of these things that I'd love to write some stories kind of showing the sort of the criminal side of life in the Elven capital. And one of the things we've talked about with Sheer is that the elves in general have like these magic globes to like light their streets, and so I've always imagined Sheer as being a pretty lively place at night. Like it's one of these places it'd be like Vegas or something.
Sure.
It's lit up.
A lot of
people
neon
are
magic lights.
Ain't
people
no
are
party like an IOS party.
people are up all
Party
night.
don't stop.
Well, especially because if you're an Iosan, there's a few different ways you can go in facing the fact that your entire race is facing imminent doom.
One of those ways is drunken debauchery.
Yes, no, it really is. You might not want to think about that. You might not want to be thinking about the destruction of your people. So instead, you just lead a life of debauchery, and you exploit other people's willingness to indulge in vices, and you become a member of the Iosan gangs,
doomed anyway.
street
I mean,
gangs.
it's just nihilism all over. The place.
Yeah, so either you join the fight against the humans, so you're like, okay, I'm going to murder all humans,
Right.
and that might help.
Which we know that most of the Iosans don't really buy into
Right,
based on your
exactly.
writings. Most of them are just like, meh.
So I think there's a lot of them that are just sort of like, you know what, that's for 3 decades from now.
Right, yeah.
I'm just going to live it up. And I'm going to go out, I'm going to stay up all night, I'm going to party like there's no tomorrow. And
So I guess this is probably an insensitive question for the Iosans, but what's childhood like in IOS? Because there aren't a lot of them running around, right?
Apparently there are winnowing pools and it's really barbaric. Knowing Doug.
Those are the Gatormen, but I think it's the reverse situation in IOS because people don't have kids very often.
Just spoiled
so
like
you just
crazy.
if you're a kid in IOS, it's a good
And you
time.
have a soul, right?
And you have a soul.
You got to get the soul.
And actually,
Man,
that's a topic that I think that we've talked about before. I don't know exactly when it's coming out, but there's going to be a short story collection of mine coming out soon. One of the stories in that was dated to when we first decided that there would be soulless Iosans, and it directly confronts the notion of what would it be like? I've had a kid, it's soulless. What happens now?
Right.
And that's not good. That's not a good situation.
I like to imagine that they're like Shail artificers who sell baby stuff on the street, and they're like these force bubble necklaces that activate whenever the baby's near danger.
Oh,
They just
sure,
live
yeah.
in these,
You want to keep your
just live in
baby
these
going.
bubbles all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bubble boy action.
Yeah, basically.
quality.
Mystical bubble boys just all over the place.
Quality film.
They never get hugged though, which leads them to be murderous
Never
later.
get hugged, yeah.
Because you can't touch them.
There's
They're
not a
too
lot
precious.
not a lot of open affection with the Iosan babies.
It's unfortunate.
And then they decide to kill all humans.
Well,
It's an outlet. It's a
Are
healthy.
the children being
I
radicalized?
just wanted to be hugged.
What the force bubble prevented?
We got any other questions up here that we should?
We've had a couple pop up about Scorn,
Sure.
about the current political climate there, relating to both sort of losing the Iosan War,
Right.
and then also Morgul sort of, I guess congealing would be the right word, but sticking all the pain givers together to form his own house.
Right,
So those
I-
two things happened. What's going on with that? What's happening?
mean, we've kind of set it up to where Morgul pretty much has control of sort of the intelligence apparatus of the Scorn Empire. So, like the pain givers are reporting to him. He's got the structure set up to where they're also making sure that there's no rebellion back in the capital. Like, everywhere where there's an important Scorn making decisions, you can imagine there being like a pain giver in the shadows nearby.
Just watching.
Yeah, just ready to eliminate those that are saying anything bad about the wrong people. I mean, really, we've kind of set Morgul up if you think about it, he's definitely sort of the shadow behind the throne. Like, he's probably the most dangerous person in the Scorn Empire. Like, because it even implies in, I think one of his model entries that, like, if Makita goes the wrong way, he'll just replace her. And
so that segues actually into another question that was in the chat a little bit earlier. Was like with the failed invasion of Ios and stuff like that. Is she sleeping with one eye open now?
I think that things have been tough for her. Like the way we kind of left things, and we haven't had a chance to explore it very much, is that they did get some gains out of that war. Like there's the southern Iosan mountains are basically Scorn mountains now.
Sure. And those mountains are filled with sacral stone, right?
Right. There's all kinds of good sacral stone deposits. Yeah. So like even though they were not able to wipe out Ios and take everybody as slaves, which was sort of like Plan A, take over the entire region. Get a bunch of trees, I guess, to to use as lumber.
The trees that the Iosian hadn't already burned down.
Right.
The Retribution is known for forest burning.
I don't think that's true. That was an art choice.
Every time you look at a Retribution guy, the forest behind them is on fire. There's no one else in the picture. Clearly, the elves are the ones burning down
That was
the
a pretty
forest.
funny moment when we were
humans.
When we were first working on the Retribution Force book. Like all the art was coming in. Where it's like we wanted to show Iosans in their home territory, but it was all on fire.
Yeah.
And so you're like, they aren't really fighting wars abroad. Are they setting their own trees on fire?
I mean,
like,
clearly they are.
That was one of the questions that came up. And I think some of it's probably just excess heat from testing some of the Shail machinery. Like you're working on Phoenix. You're working on some new Mirbanon blade technology. Some trees are going to get lit on fire, but they just keep it controlled. You can just let a few trees go. It's part of the natural rejuvenation process of the forest.
Plus, if you're going to have a portrait paint of yourself, it just looks badass to be standing in front of a burning tree.
Yeah.
So all these elven nobles are just like burning.
Not only a burning tree, but maybe like fallen pieces of Iosan buildings and technology. So you kind of want to set it up to where it looks like we're defending our homeland, even though there's nobody here yet.
Again, nihilistic culture. They're just going to build that up.
Sure. Yeah. But no, I do think there probably was some blowback on Makita for that campaign not going entirely as planned. But they did get some significant holdings, and I think that to me, it just kind of sets up for. I like the tensions between. I'm totally blanking on his name right now.
Zadesh.
Zadesh, the
he's
rebel
the upstart.
Yeah.
And I was going to bring him up as one of the ideas that we talked about, and that is kind of going through the narrative, although it hasn't been too much explored.
Yeah.
Is that Zadesh and Morgul are kind of playing a shadow game of their own. Because
yeah. Well,
Morgul's trying to stop him, and Zadesh is always one step ahead.
Well, and
he's still alive.
Well, and it's not just Zadesh. Like, there's definitely a whole contingent of Scorn houses that are sort of on the down low, being very skeptical of Makita, probably speaking badly about her in secret corners.
Well, Rasheth has kind of attached himself to that for monetary gain.
Well, and because he's always been, he's not into the codes. He's not a Haksun.
I mean,
So you have these people that are interested in their own political gains, but some of them think they're also working toward what is the good of the empire. Like there's a lot of them that think that the unification weakened the Scorn. That like the natural state of strength in the Scorn Empire is houses feuding with each other, because that makes sure that the best rise to the top. Whereas in Makita's empire, you could just be like a bureaucrat or something.
You could just be Rasheth, who has a bunch of like elephants, and they're like,
you could get
in there. Look, eyeballs are delicious.
Eat some eyeballs, yeah.
I think they're pickled, like olives.
Pickled, yeah, they're pickled eyeballs, sure.
Yeah. Clamato eyeballs?
Yeah.
No, please no.
What other questions do we have here?
I want to see Shix answer this. Do you think of yourself as the Monpok hype man? Because right now Twitch chat's talking about that.
Wow.
Talking about your spoiler picture from yesterday.
Well, we don't know if that's.
I know, but
no guarantee that's Monpok.
They're talking about stuff.
I've seen a couple of people screaming at me about Retribution Blade tag.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying
Retribution Blades.
Yeah.
Who knows what it could be?
Who knows?
It could be anything.
I mean, it might have just been a piece of refuse I found on the ground.
Knowing you, that is entirely
It's
possible.
possible. It's just like, look at this thing. Sweet. I super love Monpok. Like I've talked about before, one of the big things was 10 years ago, like I started the company right when Monpok was coming out. So there's a big like circle. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about circles on Primecast. Circles.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like not the geometric shape, but in an allegory
and
for
not
life.
and not the Ouroboros.
Oh,
kind.
I see. Okay.
But like the
circle of
The other
life.
thing I wanted to bring
the
up is that your
retrospective
description
style.
of the Circle of Ouroboros hierarchical structure makes sense when you consider that their symbol is a snake eating itself.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I think that's the idea.
And that was
you
that
did
was my favorite. That was my favorite org chart to work on because like it was the most confusing one.
Were there any
And,
question marks? Like little line question
Well,
mark?
no, just we
connecting
made
two
it
things?
as
if you know how to look, the whole thing is a question.
it's
mark.
all connected. It's this, but my favorite part of that actually was setting it up so that every person on the org chart had more than one person they were reporting to, because that's what you want in an efficient hierarchy is
yeah.
multiple bosses telling
Right.
you what to do, both with equal priorities.
for their own agendas.
Right, and that
Yeah.
you will probably be doomed or killed if you fail either one of them. And so that's kind of how the circle sets up. That's how they set up ambitious go-getters.
I was going to say, that's why you have to be a go-getter. You
Yeah.
need to be the next boss.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why you go out and find yourself a Wrathrock.
Exactly.
Like I'm done with the bobs at this point.
Fluffy Zealot is asking, did Karchev get rescued from Crix? He missed your fine.
Oh, yeah,
your
no,
fine
he
fiction.
definitely did. Strakov got in there and saved him. It cost a few
That was
poor
in.
mechanics
Was
lives.
that in
That was in
Vengeance? No. I always get them mixed up. Is it
Vengeance?
Vengeance or Reckoning?
Reckoning.
It was in
Reckoning.
Reckoning. Yeah.
Yeah, because Vengeance is when he wound up going into the tunnels. And then in Reckoning, he pulled Karchev out. And of course, Karchev didn't really want to be saved, so Karchev kept trying to kill himself.
That's one of my favorite pieces of fiction that we did in the War Machine Mark II storyline, especially that I didn't personally write, because I
wrote a
like
lot
my
of
own
it.
stuff. But Schick actually wrote the majority of the. I wrote the startup, where we first set up Strakov. Getting his
captured and-
getting his drudge disguise, which I really love the notion that Strakov is so good at going behind enemy lines that he can pretend to be, a
mindless
drudge,
automaton.
and walk around a Crixian base. But yeah, so Schick told the finale of that, which happened kind of during the big clash that was going on outside as everybody was attacking Asphyxius's base again, like they like to do.
Yep.
And,
Look, if it doesn't work the first time, just try again.
well, they did fail the first time, so they
Iron
went back
Kingdom
in.
history is filled with it failed the first time miserably, just do it again.
Just try again.
Yeah, just do it again. It's fine.
It's all about persistence.
So Scorn's coming back for iOS then.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm hearing here.
Zero
Confirmed?
question.
Well,
Confirmed?
Zero
I
question.
think they had to figure out what's going on in those trees. Like the woods really threw them
Well,
for
Why
a loop.
is this all on fire?
Yeah. They're lighting their own trees on fire. I don't know where to go.
Is this some Genghis Khan stuff? What are we doing
Sure,
here?
yeah.
The Scorn are a godless people, so when you run into a god, I mean, you're going to be a little surprised.
Sure.
You got to give them a little credit.
Or like a occultist baby killer undead thing that then
Who
comes
has
back
been
to
blessed
life.
by a god?
Who gets brought
he
back.
was a demigod at
Gets
that
brought
point.
back to life
Yeah.
despite all of his horrible sins,
Well,
and is now put forward as some kind of
Syra-
bastion of hope.
Syra
was
is
fine.
she's a forgiving type. She was
Well,
like,
and gods are
"Hey,
mysterious."
all right. Gods are mysterious.
Nobody knows exactly what's going on in the god brains.
I mean, to be
She's
fair,
probably
she
just
woke
like,
up from
you know,
a
it would be
fever
funny.
dream. I don't even think she knew what was happening. I'm pretty sure it's like when you wake up at 3 a.m. randomly and you're trying to see what's going
Well,
on.
not
everything's
only
blurry.
that, but like he was,
She just kind of waved her hand at something.
but he was there.
asking him to
Don't-
get her a glass
Like you
of
have to
milk.
work.
Don't blame this on Ambient.
You have to work with what's in front of you. So he had invaded her sanctum, right? So like she is woken up by like crazy eldritch in her room.
Yeah.
Her boudoir.
Yeah, and you're like, well, oh great, and my whole nation and people are being wiped out and killed. Well, I guess I have this guy, so
Work with what you got, people.
work with what you got. Let's see if we have any other questions.
So just to chat, when you are asking questions like, what's up with mercs? Not specific enough to really give you much here.
Yeah.
Ask
Mercs-
specific questions, please.
Mercs are selling their services for coin.
Indeed.
Still?
Yeah, wherever there's a war.
They're
Newsflash.
very interested in
Good
this Crucible Guard thing that's coming around.
Yep.
True. How are people going to react to? How do you think most of the mercenary companies are going to react to Crucible Guard coming out?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it depends on whether they're willing to hire you or not. You know.
It turns out they are
Yeah.
for a lot of them.
Yeah.
They get a lot of the Rullet guys, they get a lot of the Steelhead
So
guys.
it's just another
a lot of
client.
Yeah. So get sea dogs, Doug. Tell me about alchemy on the high seas.
Well, you
Ooh.
need alchemy for blasting powder. You need blasting powder for cannons.
Done.
You need cannons on your pirate ship.
Is there alchemy that turns salt water into drinking water? Like, have they solved that problem?
There probably is some
What
kind
about
of a process.
scurvy alchemy?
Scurvy alchemy, like turn something
alchemy.
into limes.
I mean,
Or like
maybe.
turn something into scurvy.
That's definitely an offensive ability. If you can do one, you should be able to do the other.
Well, I think
Is life on a pirate ship not Crix really that miserable? 'Cause
I
it
don't-
feels like
I don't think
alchemy
it's
would
that
take care
bad.
of a lot of this.
I don't think it's that bad. I mean,
Like, you don't have to worry about winds, right? They've got wind wizards.
well, there's not a lot of wind wizards.
Winders.
There's not most of the ships have to rely on wind, unless
Yeah,
you're like a black
paddles.
ship or steam. Yeah, but I'm just saying,
But
like,
Ord has wind wizards. There's got to be
Some,
enough wind
some.
wizards for. Is it a rare thing
they're
to be able to control the
they're
wind?
mostly in the Navy though.
Well,
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
But we're talking about pirates. Like,
Oh no, not pirates. I'm just talking about like
Okay.
naval. Like the Mercarian League has to be able to afford a bunch of wind.
there's some.
And
wind
whenever he
wizards.
sees them, is Kruger like, really? I just want one thing.
I just don't want you to think that sails are gone.
No, they're there, but they're powered by wind wizards.
Not entirely.
I feel like
should
we
teach that
need to
more.
make a proposal to Baird. You and I.
Okay.
We go to Baird. We're gonna tell him, look, we've got a solution here.
Well,
We
here's
need
the
more
thing.
wind wizards.
Here's what I want you to
We can
imagine.
supply
What I
those
want you
wind
to
wizards.
imagine is being a wind wizard. You don't want to be like just making wind all the time.
Why not?
Because it's boring,
the
and you're
jokes
just
alone
constantly
would
sitting
be
there
great.
with like one. You've got one upkeep spell going,
Yeah.
like the entire
Sounds like
time.
a pretty cush job to me.
Gives
Like,
you a
get the
headache.
lawn chair out, grab your Mai Tai, and kind of wave your hand every once in a while.
No, I think you wait for like there's a battle engagement going on, and you're like, okay, now is the time, and then you step up on deck. You save the day. You do
Oh,
a cool maneuver.
yeah?
Pour down some lightning. You know, you want to do the whole
see.
storm
And then
and
you go
wind,
back to the
and then
lawn
you're
chair?
like, now I need to go take a rest.
Oh,
And so you go.
Whether or not you do,
have
irrelevant.
you have some grog.
Mm-hmm.
You go under the deck.
Meanwhile, Kruger standing on the shore is like, really?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, wind wizards. Like, it's gotta
I
be
just
good.
don't think there's as many wind wizards as you think.
I feel like there. Well, even if there's not, I feel like this dearth of wind wizards needs to be answered. Like, it needs to be
Answered.
solved.
Well, the Circle of Boros could hook you up with
up.
more wind wizards. They're called druids. And so,
Are there water druids?
yeah.
Yeah?
We actually have named one of the potents, and I think he showed up real briefly in like one of the League
Mm-hmm.
fictions as Donovus the Worn Rock, and it was
Oh, yeah, I
like
wrote that one.
Well, I'd really like to see some of the customized. Like I was really hoping somebody would make some wolds
Yeah,
with
the
like
sea wolds
yeah,
that are
with like
covered in
shells
barnacles
and
and such.
barnacles. Yeah.
That would be pretty dope.
Like he's one of those characters. Like sometimes we'll make characters, and I'm just hoping that like Jason Souls will turn them into like a real
thing?
caster. But usually he just ignores the characters I made. And so every now and then he'll be like, okay, I guess.
I mean, Radagast got in there, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
he was
absolutely.
he's a super.
And he was one of the first druids that we named in the role playing.
Because he's from IKRPG, right? Like,
Yeah,
like,
he was. I think
He
he.
has the
Is he
little-
in
he has the
Witchfire?
model.
I know he has the model for it. but
No,
where
he
did
wasn't.
pop up?
But he was in the old World Guide. And he might have even been in the old Character Primer, which came out even before the World Guide. So yeah, he's definitely. It occasionally happens from time to time.
We've got a great question here from Adam Blakesley.
Yeah.
Which is, what's Iona like? What's she into? Asking for a friend.
We haven't had.
Sounds like somebody's looking for a date.
I'm not going to
She'll
give
lead
too
your
much.
heart.
I'm not going to give too much information on her yet. We're going to wait a little bit on her.
Sure.
Yeah, just because we're still brewing it up. She's still being in process.
Well, let's just on a scale of like Chromac murderous to Wormwood murderous. where does
I don't
she
think that's
fall?
much of a scale.
Where's she fall?
They're both on a.
So
it's-
she's
I think-
less murderous than Chromac.
I think. I
if it was
think
like
yes.
Chromac or
Well,
Grail?
Chromac or Grail?
In
She's
terms of
closer to
murderous.
Chromac, probably.
So more
Grail.
murderous. Because I would imagine Grail, like,
She's
Grail's cool killing
murderous.
people, right? But he's not like,
He's not going to go out of
he's
his
not
way
just
to
like
do
pillaging
it.
cities
Yeah,
for no
no,
reason.
he's-
Grail is more like he's more like somebody you send on a specific mission to kill a person.
Okay.
And then he might even like kind of feel bad sometimes.
Sure.
How about
This was kind of
oh,
unfortunate.
what's her name from the battle group box?
She's really
Battlefield
murdered. You
Blade.
keep picking very murderous
Well,
people.
I'm trying to make a range that makes sense for people.
Well,
like
okay.
you can't just say King Leto on one side
No,
and
no, but
Wormwood
even-
on another.
even within the
and you'd be
faction-
like, well, she's somewhere close.
Even
to
within
Wormwood.
the
Like,
faction, you could
that
have
scale is
Balder.
huge.
Balder, not so
Balder doesn't
murderous.
kill. I know.
He's
but we've
protecting
already established.
sites, right?
I'm
Okay.
just going on a limb and saying that
Okay.
Iona probably far more murderous than Balder.
Well,
because she's far more murderous than Grail.
this does bring something up that I've been wanting to return to, which is making more character graphs. Like I want to make, and so having like
A
having
murderous scale?
Well, and what we could do is we can show that this is like this is a zoom in that like everybody on the spectrum is very murderous.
Very
but now we're
murderous.
looking at like a
Like
finer detail.
there's green, which is not really murderous.
Yeah.
Yellow, which is on a bad day.
Yeah.
Red, which is pretty murderous.
Yeah.
And then
we
or
zoom
like a
in.
little
orange,
black
and
or
then
something?
yeah, and then
Yeah.
black, which is total murderous.
So we
kill anyone they
zoom
walk
in
past.
on the extreme end
yeah,
of the circle.
So we're in the red zone.
Everybody's very murderous.
Fire
but,
dangerous high.
But yeah, I've been
I've been
wanting to do some graphs like this. Like I've also been wanting to do one that kind of I hadn't quite figured out the spectrum, but I wanted like the cranky old guy.
The old guy
This
spectrum.
cranky old guy versus like
Who's at the
mystical
Who's at the
power.
bottom of that spectrum? The bottom of the cranky old guy spectrum. So the
that
least
has to be-
cranky old guy.
The least
least cranky old
guy.
guy.
They have to be an old guy.
Yes.
And then they have to be the least
That's
The
pretty
least
interesting.
cranky old guy.
So just start naming old guys.
So like,
In
what's
circles
the-
I
specifically?
think
Or
is
just
it
anyone.
Nemo?
it might be Nemo.
You think Nemo's
he's
the
still
least cranky? I mean, he's pretty cranky.
He's a curmudgeon, but like you
he's
have to admit,
cantankerous,
you
not
see him.
cranky.
You see him in a lot of warmer moments. Like you see, he is not always angry.
All right, who's the most cranky old guy?
I mean, Wormwood's literally a tree.
Well, I don't think Wormwood counts. Like,
Because he's not a guy.
yeah, I
I
would.
don't know. I feel like that's kind of species.
Gareth?
No,
He's not that. I don't know if Gareth's that old though.
it's got to be either.
Probably
Aelith
700.
It's either Doomshaper or Karchev, in my opinion.
I think
the
Karchev's
crankiest?
just angry. I feel like Doomshaper.
I think
probably wins.
Doomshaper-
But
yeah,
what?
very
But you're
cranky.
leaving out your favorite, the sand druid.
Mosar?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
he's
seems
pretty
pretty
good.
cranky.
Gearbox
Mosar's
Grinds asks, Sevi or is Sevi dead? Sevi is very dead.
Yes.
Sevi.
And he was never that
Gearbox
cranky.
Grinds. I highly recommend reading Godless by Oren Gray.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually one of my favorite novels that we've done. Again, that I didn't write. and it may touch on Severius and what happened.
Mm-hmm. And he wasn't
to
that
him.
cranky.
No,
think
I
he's
actually
probably
think-
closer to Nemo.
Severius is actually.
He might even be less cranky than Nemo.
He's one of my favorite characters in that spectrum because I feel like he's one of the most reasonable of the darker, older characters we have. Like he is a religious zealot who is torturing people like as a profession, but he still comes across as somebody who's fairly sensible. Like he's made compromises. He's like allowed Marwins to live sometimes. You know, like he's
torturing you, but he also offered you a hard candy.
yeah, or well, he made sure you had water. He made sure that you were not like thirsty. And
He's
then
like,
When your skin's flayed
Just
open,
because,
we're
just because we're burning you doesn't mean that you have to be thirsty.
right, there's
so
no
what
reason to make this like more unpleasant.
Here's
than
a
it has
word
to
that
be.
What you're
is-
telling me is that they're dentists.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
They're going to torture you and offer you a hard
It's for your own good.
But I do like. Well, we will have to follow up with some of these graphs, some of these charts. We need to put some numbers to it.
I mean, I know Excel pretty well, so
Oh,
we
yeah,
can Excel it up.
I
We
love-
can just
I
graph
love-
it like crazy.
I love doing
I
charts.
just need values.
Yeah, we'll make
We
it
just
happen.
need grouchy units, murder units,
curmudgeon
intelligence
Yeah.
units.
And then have like your grumpiness affect your intelligence.
Oh man, we
It's
could like
a
combine them all
coefficient
together, and you could just get this crazy chart.
Sure.
that would make
You could
zero
pinpoint
sense.
everything.
Yeah,
At all.
Well, I think it's important that you look at your casters and their personalities under a variety of spectrums
lenses.
to understand the nuances. You know, because you might think, okay, Privateer's always making grumpy old guys, and we're like, no, they are not all the same.
There are varying degrees of grumpy old guys.
Exactly.
Let's see, what else do we
Like
have?
Elias Smith says, future Haley doesn't look at all cranky.
That's true. She looks kind of
Young Haley.
She looks like she's
very
kind of.
This is more like youthful rage.
I would say like older
like
Haley's
punk
almost
rock.
serene, like she's sort of
She's given
seen
up.
things. No, I don't think it's given. No, that was not the direction I was going. I don't think it's
Partying off
resigned.
IOS.
I think she is like
That's where she got her armor.
If you can float,
she's
you're not going to be cranky.
she's in that enlightened state of like, am I alive? I don't. It doesn't even matter. I
like to
I am
imagine that-
pure energy.
I think Pagani's onto something. I think that in the future, the IOs and borders have opened. They've become the Vegas of the IK. And future Haley was partying hard
Before
in her
she got-
Vegas suit,
before she got
before she
summoned.
got pulled back in time. And now she's like, whatever, man, it's cool.
That's kind of.
It does explain the snazzy goggles.
Exactly.
There
the
might-
light suit, like
There might come a point
She's in
when
clubs.
she's been in the clubs like nonstop. The IOs and clubs.
We did it.
All right. Any other questions before we decide this is?
Before
this
Doug
is,
is like,
this is
this
done?
is over. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for you to be like,
Well, we got to save
"And
some
we're
for
done."
the next time I take
Absolutely.
over
Take over,
one of these
take over
streams.
dev chat.
Yeah.
We talked about a little bit of dev stuff.
We did. Do you have any more devs?
Okay,
to talk about?
I've got one that
Oh.
Matthew brought in. What are the Rulix up to while all of this stuff is happening?
They're making good money too. Like one of the things that we've set up with the Rula casters is like they're very loyal to Rule. And nobody's attacking Rule right now.
Everyone kind of forgot they existed.
Well,
They're just
well,
like,
there was a close call with Thagrosh. Like Thagrosh landed in Southern Rule, murdered multiple towns, made some spawning vessels.
Yeah.
Some of the clans were upset. They went to the moot. There was a big arguments, debates. By the time they figured out, okay, we need to do something about these dragon spawn in Southern Rule, they left. Like they had gone somewhere else, and that's often how things go in the moot and Rule.
It just
is
takes so
the
long. The problem solves
Yeah,
itself.
the arguments take so long that the situation that you were arguing about is done.
I've
it.
seen some stuff like that in the dev field.
It can happen. That is in no way emblematic of anything that ever happened.
That does definitely happen sometimes when we have dev meetings.
But yeah, I think Rule is like the one nation that is doing really well. Like they've had a little bit of some problems on the borders here and there, but like Central Rule is about as stable as it gets
But to
in
be
the Iron
fair,
Kingdom.
It
the
seems
people
like the
that got
problem
eaten
has
by
solved
the
itself.
dwarves that got
Off
eaten
to
by
drink
Thagrosh
time.
kind of deserved it because they were weird surface dwarves.
Well, they were
weird
There's
surface
plenty of
dwarves.
surface dwarves.
No,
this
no,
is
no,
getting
they were
into
the
your.
weird
We're
ones.
getting into your racism toward dwarves again. Like I don't want to indulge in
This
your
is just
dwarven
correct
racism.
anthropology when it comes to dwarven
Dwarves
society.
are comfortable living underground, but do not have to live underground.
No, they don't have to, but they were
their
weird if they lived on the surface.
Their symbol is a tower. Specifically, their gods built like the highest tower that's ever been made.
Tower is an allegory for
Into
mountain.
the
Doug.
sky.
It's an allegory for the mountain, which is underground.
They
If you're
turned
in a
a
mountain, you're
mountain.
underground.
They turned a mountain into a tower.
It's still a mountain.
No, the mountain fell
No,
apart.
no, it's still
the
a mountain.
mountain collapsed.
You're still underground. John, play the music.
All right. We're going to go out on Shickian Rulic racism.
Look, it's not. It's just a fact. Land dwarves are weird. Surface dwarves are weird.
What about sea dwarves? What about pirate dwarves?
Oh man.